This is the Trumpton Broadcasting Company, broadcasting live via the medium of modern technology. It's now time for your scheduled show with the Mayor of Trumpton, the Honourable Mike Dix.
The NHS is 75 this week. Patients have been invited to register to attend a celebratory party. Once registered, it will take 2 years for them to receive their invites. Lee Anderson started a new faction of the Tory party called the New Conservatives or New Cons. In a radical move, Mr Anderson didn't attend the launch, as it was pointed out to him he was already a prominent member of the old Cons. Millions of users are fleeing a mad billionaire's social media platform to join another mad billionaire's social media platform. In the House of Commons, the Privileges Committee has changed its remit. Instead of seeking evidence for Tory MPs who show contempt for Parliament, they are looking for proof that any of them are not arseholes. Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick has ordered a Disney cartoon mural to be painted over in a kids' migrant centre in Kent. I tried to think of something funny to say about Mr Jenrick, but I couldn't. He's an arse. And that was the news from Trumpton. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's the 75th anniversary of the NHS this week, so our show is dedicated to the hardworking nurses, doctors, porters, scientists and tea ladies of the National Health Service. I've got Dr Mopp coming in to tell us what it's like to be a GP in the NHS today. Rishi Sunak will be joining us to talk about his commitment to making the NHS sellable before he leaves office. We can't keep Sir Keir Starmer out of the studio, despite our best efforts, and he'll be here to talk about the hand-picked Just Stop Oil protester who ruined his big speech about giving speeches. And Sir Clive Denby will be here to tell us about his radical plans for the NHS and his invite to George Osbournes' wedding this weekend. We'll be in touch with resident agony aunt Suella Braverman to put your health questions to her, and I'll be asking our money expert Lewis Martin about the funding of the NHS. But first, let's go over to Aiden in the TBC chopper to get the latest count of Tory MPs who've decided to resign before they lose the next election. Aiden.
42.
That's a lot of rats leaving a sinking ship. And now this. So as we're celebrating the 75th birthday of the NHS, I thought it would be really important to get the local doctor, Dr Mopp, in and get some first-hand examples of the state of the NHS at the moment. Dr Mopp, your father and yourself both worked for the NHS. Your father was there, I think, right at the beginning.
Yeah, my dad was. He was indeed fully involved. In fact, he met Niall Bevan one day. He came into the hospital when it was open.
Did he really? When Trumpton Hospital opened?
When Trumpton Hospital opened, Bevan topped up. He met him. It was lovely. Still got the picture there now. Pride of place above our fireplace.
And then you joined the NHS in the 1970s?
I did indeed. Worked there, man and boy.
And you've been running the local practice for us, looking after the people of Trumpton. And how would you describe the state of the NHS?
Well, it's not good, Mike. No, it's like it's got cancer.
That's not good on your 75th birthday.
It's had a good innings. It's doing well, but like any 75-year-old, it needs a bit of an MOT check, and it's got cancer.
What kind of cancer's it got?
Well, it's got a specific type of cancer.
What's it called?
Fucking Tories.
Thanks, Dr Mopp. And now this. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has been busy this week trying to get a court injunction against Boris Johnson's WhatsApp messages being sent out to the COVID inquiry. But he's also here to talk about the NHS with me today and a new plan that they've got to introduce a whole new tier of management. Welcome, Mr Sunak. Dr Mopp, our renowned local doctor. His father worked in the NHS at the beginning with Niall Bevan, who actually set up the NHS. Dr Mopp has given most of his life to it, and he described it as having a cancer, and the cancer was you.
Well, I think you'll find if he just holds his nerve, then everything will be fine.
Rishi, that's probably good advice for the doctor. I'll send you round there later and you can tell him it to his face. But now, tell me about this new plan that you and Jacob Rees-Mogg, I believe, have come up with.
What we've decided is that we need a new level of management.
Okay, and what will this level of management be managing?
Jacob's told me they're going to look after all the hedges. Well, what they'll do is they'll raise money to look after the hedges, so they'll be like hedge fund managers. Jacob said that it was really important to make sure the gardens are really nice for all the people who go there.
And will these hedge fund managers be coming from Jacob's Irish-based firm?
Yes. Have you talked with Jacob?
No, I never talked to Jacob, but I just imagine that would be the plan he'd come up with. What do you think the outcome of employing all of these Irish-based hedge fund managers will be for the NHS?
The important thing is the hedges will look lovely and lots of little wildlife can come along, and it'll be really nice for all the people who are ill to look out and see all the little birdies in the hedges.
Except the hospitals will have fallen down and everybody will have died.
Yes, but the hedges will be lovely.
Well, that's nice. Thanks, Richie. See you again soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, Well, it wouldn't be a conversation about the NHS without bringing somebody from the Labour Party in to come and talk to us about healthcare. Keir Starmer is in the studio to talk about his big issue.
Yes, I've got lots of issues.
Okay, we talked earlier to Rishi, and he's got a plan to introduce a tier of management, the NHS, to look after the hedges surrounding all the hospitals, he said, and they'll be raising funds, and he's going to call them hedge fund managers. What's Labour's answer to that? Do you have a policy that will beat that?
Well, yes, I did listen to what Rishi had to say, and I think he's just copying a Labour plan, because we have a similar plan, completely different though, but it might sound a bit similar, but we're actually going to be looking after the shrubberies.
Okay, and how will you be doing that?
Well, pruning usually is the thing to do with shrubberies.
Sir Keir, I have to ask you this question. How will Labour pay for it?
Have you noticed that older people tend to like gardening?
Yes.
Well, we'll do a 2-for-1 deal. We keep you alive, you spend a week doing a bit of shrubbery pruning.
Okay, and those people you would call shrubbery fund managers, I guess?
No, just people.
While you're here, you did have a big speech this week about oracy, and nobody knows what that means.
It means being able to talk in a distinct and functional way, like I do. You know, you are sitting there now wrapped in what I am saying. I can see you're focused, like your gaze. I can see... Mike, hello?
Thanks.
Yeah, Mike, over here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't realise you were still talking.
Yes, I know. It was probably a big thing. You were probably overcome with emotion at the words that I was using.
Not really, I was bored.
Well, okay.
So oracy, what does it actually mean?
It means being able to talk nicely.
Angela Rayner said recently on the radio that she thought it meant oral sex.
Well, maybe she's from the north.
So when you were making your speech about oracy, you were interrupted rather rudely by a young Labour member standing behind you.
Well, I think that she was using her right to free speech and obviously chose to do so, and I had a chat with her afterwards and we discussed it in a different place.
Really? And what's happened to her now?
She's dead.
Well, thanks, Sir Keir. It's been a pleasure having you in, repeating Rishi Sunak's words in a slightly different voice.
I think you'll find that Rishi actually was repeating my words, he just happened to do them before I did.
Sir Keir Starmer there, the next Prime Minister. And now this. Despite beefed-up security on the doors, there's now 15 bouncers, bars across the windows, and an electrified fence all the way around the Trumpton Broadcasting Company radio station. Sir Clive Denby has managed to get in through the ladies' toilet and broken into the studio. Sir Clive.
Hello, lovely to see you.
We're talking about the NHS today, Sir Clive, and you apparently have a radical plan for how to reshape the NHS.
Well, it's a very simple plan. According to the boffins, you know, the scientist types, chaps and maybe chapesses, they have said that apparently £220 billion was spent last year on the NHS, and people are saying, where's it gone? So, simple plan. How many people are there in the UK, Mike?
There's 65 million, I believe. 65
million? Do you happen to know what 65 million is if you divvy up 220 billion?
No, I don't, Sir Clive. What is it?
Well, it's £3,384.61p. So, give everybody £3,384.61p and tell them to fuck off.
And what will they do with it? I mean, you can't really cure cancer with £3,384.61, can you?
But we weren't doing it before, so it's fine.
And you'd give the same amount of money to rich people and poor people?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So what would you do with your £3,384.61?
Probably just spend it on starters.
Nice bottle of Chablis.
Oh, God, no. I'm not a farmer. I'll spend a lot more on a bottle of Chablis.
Well, thank you, Sir Clive. And I'm sure you've got to hurry away now because I believe you're going to George Osbournes' wedding. And your wife features heavily in the email that was sent round recently. And now this. Do you have a distinctive voice? Do you think you could earn money using your vocal cords for cash? Well, why not try
Keir Starmer's Vocal Academy.
where you can learn skills like
Oration,
and
speaking,
and
voice stuff.
earn thousands of pounds, or probably nothing, from Keir Starmer's vocal agency. Call 555.
34245.
Do I get paid for this gig?
Coming to a cinema near you soon.
Well, on the subject of health, we've got our resident agony aunt, Suella Braverman, in today to answer your health questions. We asked you to email them in because obviously it's a bit embarrassing on the phone talking about your scabby warts. So we've got a first email, Suella. Welcome to the show, by the way, Suella.
Thanks, Mike. Nice to be here.
That's all right. Do you want paying in cash again for this?
I want the money. Nah.
The first question comes from a Mike, actually. That's a coincidence, isn't it? A Mike from Chigley. And he says that he's had blood cancer in the past and his white blood cell count is really high at the moment. Should he be worried?
Nah, you don't want to worry about the white ones. The white ones will be fine. It's the other coloured ones you've got to be careful of.
Thanks, Suella. That's really useful information. So we've got another email here from Cuthbert from the Fire Brigade, local lad, very popular with the ladies. He says he's suffering from athlete's foot. What should he do?
A terrible dilemma, especially one in the services like that, man. Obviously, hats off to the man. A good cure for athlete's foot is bathing your foot in salt water. So, little suggestion, kill two birds with one stone, pop down to the coast, have a paddle, get rid of the small boats at the same time. Nice job.
That's good advice, and I'm sure the fact that Cuthbert's on strike at the moment because you're not paying him enough to be a fireman won't prevent him from bolstering your border force.
Exactly, he's got plenty of spare time.
Let's move on to the next email. This one comes from a lovely woman called Therese, who says that she's suffering from thrush, and she says, does Suella or any of the other cabinet ladies suffer from thrush, and what do you do about it?
It's a very common thing, Mike. It's not a problem at all. In fact, me and the ladies in the cabinet used to deal with it all the time by whapping some yoghurt on it.
Really? So yoghurt culture, I imagine. Medical yoghurt culture or just yoghurt?
Just regular yoghurt, mate. You know what I mean? I did make the mistake once of doing a muller rice, and it turns out that that's just cream.
So this yoghurt culture, where did you keep it in the cabinet office?
Well, we didn't keep it in the cabinet office. There was a fridge in the Department of Culture.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Nadine Dorris, famously.
Absolutely, and trust me, that's the only fucking culture she ever saw.
Well, Suella, thanks very much. That's really useful advice. We found out that white blood cells are fine, even if they're clogging up your system and destroying your immune system. Athlete's foot, that can be cured easily by stopping the boats. And Nadine Dorris has thrush. And now this. The NHS is often described as a money pit, so I thought we'd get Lewis Martin, our money expert, to call in and tell us what the financial state of the NHS is at the moment. Hi, Lewis.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Lewis. It's always lovely to talk to you. So the NHS and its funding, it costs around £220 billion a year from our budget. How's it doing?
It's fucked, mate. There's absolutely nothing we can do.
Okay. Well, thanks, Lewis. We'll go to this now. Well, much of the news in today's show about the NHS has been a little bit gloomy, a little bit down, and I thought we'd look into somebody in the private sector that's actually doing really well at the moment, buying up large parts of the NHS and profiting from the work. So let's go over to the Chief Executive of Death PLC, Death.
Hello, Mike.
Hello, Death. Welcome back to the show. You did say that you'd try and find me next October, I thought.
Yes, but I didn't realise that business was going to be so good.
So tell us about Death PLC. What exactly are you doing with the NHS assets?
Nothing. It's very simple. If we continue to do nothing, that means that I just get a little bit busier.
And I understand you're going into business with Sir Clive Denby with his new radical plan.
Yes, it seems to be a good idea.
And of course, everybody being given £3,384.61 each, there'll be a number of people that will waste that on drugs, alcohol and death.
I hope so.
Thanks very much for joining us, Death.
It's a pleasure, Mike. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, dear. And now this. You've been listening to the Trumpton Podcast, brought to you by Mike Dix, that's me, and Aiden Goatley.
42.
We hope you've enjoyed this enough to tell your friends on Threads. And if you're poorly and you're relying on the NHS to be there for you, good luck. And don't have nightmares. Lee Anderson is a fictitious character.